northeastradiosd.com and click Listen Live.
Good morning, Northeast Radio SD. We are continuing with our special guests in studio with us today. So we are going to go now and do a little bit of learning, which is probably pretty important this time of year. So we've got with us Lake Area Technical College. Is it like tax prep? Like, what is there a department here that we're talking about?
Financial Services.
Financial Services.
Yes.
Okay. So we got Kerry Stager with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
We've also got Lorna Hofer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you both for joining us. This is a pretty large undertaking. You guys have been doing it for a while, haven't you?
38 years.
Wow, no way.
Well, not
We
us.
haven't
Okay, I was like, no way.
We're not that old.
Okay, I was like, what? But it's a service you've been doing for the community. Like,
Yes.
that's amazing. So in a nutshell, what do you do for people?
So we provide services through the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, or VITA.
Mm-hmm.
So this provides, sponsored by the IRS, which we all know, to provide free basic tax return preparation for those folks that are in the low to moderate income range, and as well as elderly.
Okay, so if I'm a small business owner or anything like that, is that the services for me?
So the IRS gives us a scope of what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do tax returns for small businesses that do not have employees, that do not have an inventory, and do not have a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So we're limited. We can do Schedule Cs for small businesses, but we have to stay within the scope that the IRS allows us to do.
Mm-hmm. So individual with multiple jobs, multiple part-times, anything like that? Any issues with that?
Nope.
So the most common things we see at our tax site are the W-2s. We do a little bit of self-employment if they meet those specs I just said.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of 1099-Rs, the retirement income. We can do tax returns that have the like stock trades, which have capital gains. There are some limits if you have quite a complicated Schedule D, which is the capital gains. But for most people, we could do a Schedule D, the capital gains. So most of the typical tax forms, we are allowed to prepare the tax return.
Okay. And you're going to be kicking this off, if you will, on February 3rd. And are they walk-ins?
They're walk-ins. So we are open on Tuesdays from noon until 3, Thursdays noon to 3, and then we do an evening session 5 to 8, and then Saturdays 9 until noon. What's a little bit different about our site is the tax deadline is April 15th. However, we are done with student tax preparation on March 14th. That is actually when our students go on spring break. And we get to go on spring break too.
You do?
Well, we don't probably go anywhere, but
Yeah. At least unplug for a minute or two.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
good.
right.
And so there's probably some things that you're going to want people to make sure that they try to bring with them.
Sure. Photo ID is a must for the primary taxpayer and spouse, and then Social Security cards for everyone on the return. So whether that is primary taxpayers or even dependents, so children, as an example, your W-2s, your any 1099s that you've gotten, 1098s, any time you get something in the mail that says important tax document enclosed, probably a good idea to bring in. If you have a copy of your last year's tax return, that helps us if there's anything unique about your situation, so we can make sure we've got everything. And then if you are one of those people that gets a refund, we'd like your your account number and routing number for your bank. Or if you owe money, we would also like that, because what they're stressing now is having that auto deduction or direct deposit into your account.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so some of the other, like the FSA, you deal with that as well? Is that what you were talking about a little bit earlier?
Flex spending account, that usually doesn't have any implications on the tax return. We can do a tax return with a health savings account, an HSA.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an HSA, that would be in scope for us. A couple things that are changing this year for 2025. So with the One Big Beautiful Bill, also called OB3, there are some things that went into effect for the 2025 tax year, even though it was passed partway through the year. So those things that would affect taxpayers, we would see, there is an enhanced senior deduction for those who are 65 and older. And if you'll remember, there was some talk about eliminating taxes on Social Security. And they didn't end up doing that. But what they did instead is they put a $6,000 deduction for seniors on their tax return to help reduce that taxable income. And you can get that deduction whether you receive Social Security or not. So maybe we have a 65-year-old who hasn't started receiving Social Security. They can still get this deduction even if they're waiting until later to get Social Security. The other, another thing that went into effect, deduction that went into effect, is no tax on qualified tips. So for those who work in an industry where they receive tips, they can get a tax deduction up to $25,000 based on the tips they've received. Another provision is no tax on the premium portion of overtime. A lot of people heard that and heard no tax on overtime. It's actually just the premium portion. So if they get time and a half, the half part is the part that's not taxed. So based on what you earned in overtime, we can figure out what that half part is. You would need, probably won't be on W-2s this year. Next year, it will be required to have that overtime, premium overtime on W-2s. But if you bring your last pay stub, we can help you figure out what that amount would be. Wow. And then the fourth provision that goes into effect that would affect taxpayers that we see is no tax on car loan interest. And that is for a car loan in 2025 that was a new vehicle and it had to be primarily assembled in the US. So there's a VIN lookup that if you bought a car in 2025 and it was primarily assembled in the US, or you think it might have been, you can look up your VIN and see if you qualify for that deduction. So there wouldn't be tax on the loan interest, sorry, not the loan, the interest on that loan. So those are some provisions that are coming into play that are new that some taxpayers may not know about for 2025.
Wow, that's wild. I didn't.
There's a lot of stuff out there
for next year as well.
Yeah, because I mean, every year there are changes that you have to. So do tax people get a notification like, hey, guess what? This all changed, or do you just have to go and find that information?
So most tax preparers, like those working in the industry, they have to take continuing education. So they would take a course to get updated on those things. These are kind of 4 basic things. There are other provisions that are maybe a little more complex that we wouldn't deal with at our site, but these are kind of the main 4. Those 4 deductions I talked about are actually slated to be in effect from 2025 to 2028. So those 4 will be in play for at least a little bit.
Okay, so you have to know when to stop doing it as well.
Right.
So, wow. Right. Okay. And are there some other, I don't know, common concerns maybe that you guys do run into that maybe people could be prepared for or anything like that? Or,
one other thing that Kerry alluded to earlier is the IRS is doing away with paper checks. We have a handful of people that come to our site to get taxes prepared that maybe don't have a bank account for whatever reason right now, and we can check a box on their return that they want to receive a paper check. We can still check that box on their return. However, now the IRS is going to hold their return for 6 weeks, and the IRS is going to try and contact them to get direct deposit information. And what I read last night is after that 6 weeks, the IRS may mail a paper check. So take that how you will. I think eventually they'll end up getting a refund, but it could be delayed quite a while. Also, for people who make quarterly tax payments that have to pay in quarterly, the IRS is getting away from allowing them to mail in paper checks. So that's going to an online system where they would need to create an account with the IRS and make those payments online instead of mailing a check in.
I suppose it probably does save money. I mean, when you consider how much it costs to mail things out, unless the government doesn't have to, unless they don't have to pay for postage, but I suppose they do. So are there some other do's and don'ts or some other things we've got to know before we show up and just walk into the tax prep?
We are walk-in only, so you do not need to schedule an appointment with us. You're going to bring the documents that I had mentioned earlier. Again, your photo ID, Social Security cards, all of your tax forms, last year's return, that direct deposit information or auto deduct information. The first step in that process then is coming in and filling out an intake form. That's going to give us an idea for what to expect on your return. the taxpayer or the tax professional that will be preparing your return will go through that with you. And again, that just makes sure that we're not missing anything. Once we've went through that with you, then we'll go ahead and start plugging numbers in and going through that process. How busy we're going to be, that's anybody's guess. Every day is a little bit different for us in that route. So, we try to get people in as efficiently as possible, but, some days we are super busy, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I would also add to what Kerry said about the process is after you fill out the intake form, there's a process we have to file. We're an IRS program, voluntary income tax assistance. So once you fill out that form, we are required to do the interview, which Kerry talked about. And then after we prepare your tax return, we are also required to have that return quality reviewed. So we have 2 experienced quality reviewers that go through everything on the return. We make sure everything looks good. And then we would print the tax return, go through it with the taxpayer. They will need to sign a form to allow us to e-file. And then the taxpayer does leave with a paper copy of their return. So they have the documentation that they would need in the future in the form of their tax return.
Wow. Okay. And all of this is free.
Free.
Wow. And it's basically also like a learning experience for the students.
It is honestly one of my favorite experiences to see students, at this point, they're nervous because they have not done it before. They've done lots of practice returns, but they haven't had somebody sitting right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Once they get their first one under their belt, their confidence continues to grow. But just to see those students really grow in their time with us, that is why we do the job that we do every day, no matter what class, is just to see that growth and be able to teach those students. They go into it thinking, I'm just so scared. But afterwards, anybody that's even listening could attest to this that has prepared. It is one of their best experiences at Lake Erie Tech.
Yeah. Well, and I think anyone that wants to deal with numbers or just kind of gets into that and likes accounting and taxes and stuff, I think you're super awesome anyways, because
it's a lot of problem solving. And there's calling for everyone.
Yeah, that's not how my brain works, but I think they're amazing when they like that stuff, and it just clicks. So I appreciate what you guys do for, the people, because we need to churn out more of those kinds of people, especially with the technology changing and AI. Do you guys see yourselves dealing with any AI within the class or anything?
We're just starting to kind of dabble in that across Lake Erie Tech, just learning more. And I think our biggest thing right now is teaching students what is the ethical use of it, when is it appropriate. It's interesting, some of the things I, again, just as a hobby, like to go ahead and play with it and just kind of see what it's capable of. And tax, it's probably not very good at right now, I would say.
Yeah, you don't want to just upload your stuff and say, let me know what you come up with, and then mail it in.
Even the personal information as well is a really big issue. And again, what information can you put into there, and is your information safe?
Wow. Yeah, there is a lot to think about. And you guys are all over all the new stuff, because since you are the teacher, you probably constantly have to keep up with
absolutely
even more than maybe a CPA or whatever. So.
Well, I don't know if I don't keep up more than a CPA. They go way deeper than we do.
Okay.
One thing I love about our financial services program is so students can be a financial services student and choose an option. So they would choose ag financial, which is banking and lending on the ag side, consumer financial, and or accounting. Some of them do all 3 options. And what I love about our program is they get to experience a lot of different facets of accounting. I'm going to talk to accounting because I teach on the accounting side, but payroll, QuickBooks, basic accounting, cost accounting, tax. And they can really experience that and decide, is this an area I want to specialize in? Or a lot of our students go on and get more education, get a 4-year degree, or even a CPA. So they really get to taste the different kinds of accounting, and they can decide what they like. Some of them really decide that, yes, I want to do tax. And some kind of like, no, thank you. Someone else can do that.
Yep. That might be me, but I got to know how to do a little math at least. How are you doing over there, Doreen? Did you have any questions?
I'm good. Do you find that some people do not have to file income tax returns because their income is at a lower level and they're not receiving anything back, and it's just them filing? They have their own status?
We do find that there are pages in our VITA guide that have a place we can look up if a person has to file. So if a person must file, and then there are a couple other pages, other reasons a person must file if they don't meet, like if they're below the standard deduction is typically that page. And then there's a page that says other reasons why people might want to file. So even if they don't have a filing requirement, they might want to file a tax return. If they've had any earned income, there is a credit called earned income tax credit. And if you've had any earned income, even if it's low, you probably qualify for that credit. So you might be below the level that you need to file a return, but you might want to file one to see if you qualify for that credit. So there are some things like that that would make you want to file. We have some taxpayers come in without a filing requirement that go ahead, their tax returns come out to zero. They know it's going to come out to zero. They don't owe, they don't get a refund. One reason to file a return, even if you don't have a filing requirement, is to protect your Social Security number. So we have taxpayers that will come in that just want a return filed under their Social Security number so that no one else can use that number for the tax year. If someone files a return under a Social Security number, whatever return is filed is the one that goes through first. So we have clients come in that try and file their return, and this is a small number, but we had at least 3 last year that I could think of. They were elderly folks that when we filed their return, it says there's already a return under this Social Security number. So their identity had been stolen at some point, and they had to then work with the IRS to figure out, I'm the real owner of this Social Security number. So there are some reasons you might want to file a return, even if you don't have a filing requirement.
Or that may happen with parents that are split up. One parent may claim the child and the other one thinks they have the right to claim that child. And the one parent's the one providing all the care and expense.
Yes, and we have experienced that as well, where a taxpayer will come in with the dependents that they can claim, and when we send the return, it's rejected because a dependent has already been claimed. At that point, the taxpayer has to file a paper return, which delays their refund significantly, and then the IRS has to sort it out between the parents who should really be claiming that dependent for that tax year.
And you might want to file a claim because there's promises of stimulus checks all the time.
That is a good point. That is not a bad reason to file a return. We've heard talk of the, what's it called? Tariff. Yeah. Tariff refunds. And I don't know if that will come to be, but you're right. The economic stimulus payments in the COVID years went through faster if you had filed a federal tax return. So you're absolutely correct.
Oh, duly noted.
Does she want to volunteer at our site?
Yeah, good work.
No, thank you.
Come on in.
I just was asking the question about the certain amount of income, especially for the elderly.
Yes. Yes. Yep. And those deduction amounts for 2025 for singles is $15,750. For head of household is $23,625, and then for married filing joint is $31,500. So typically, if your income is above that, you have a filing requirement. But again, there are reasons you may want to file even if you don't have to.
All right. And overall, you're kind of looking for the more basic kind of tax returns or processing, not necessarily like a $10 million a year type individual or something like that. Just kind of family stuff too. You do some family returns and whatnot.
We do. Okay. And if someone has a question, if you have a complex return, we probably can't help you. Mm-hmm. But if you have a question about a particular item, if you call Lake Area Tech and ask for Lorna, they can get you to me, and I can usually talk it through on the phone, whether we are able to help you. And then for sure, when you come in and fill in the intake sheet, that gives us the information to know if you have anything out of scope, and we would try to catch that right away for you.
Okay. Well, man, that's perfect. Well, is there anything else that you guys want to cover? Do we? We don't need to register anything.
Nope. So kind of where to go and
Yes.
when. We start on Tuesday, February 3rd, so just a few days from now, and we go through March 14th. Tuesdays, we are open from noon until 3. Thursdays, both noon to 3, and then we do an evening session 5 to 8, and then Saturdays 9 to noon. If you come to the northeast corner of Arrow and 11th in the Dana J. Dykehouse Business Center, that is where you'll go ahead and come up to the first floor, start the intake process, and then we'll go ahead and get you in line. If you are not feeling well, of course, with all the illness, we do ask that you protect us and our students as well. So we ask that you pick a different day as well. But again, we'll get you in as quick as we can. And we just hope people come out. And we have a lot of repeat customers that, in our time doing this, we pretty much see them every year. So we remember names and remember stories that they tell us. That's part of the fun of what we do as well. It's not just the students that we connect with, but it is the community members that we see on a regular basis.
Well, and you have different students too,
Yeah.
so that must mean you guys are doing a good job because they keep coming back.
Well, thank you.
I hope so.
We were able to prepare 540 tax returns in the 6 weeks last year. So we keep very busy, and we are thankful for the opportunity to get our students real life experience and serve the community as we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even want to drop off one, yet alone do it. So how about you? Are you still good?
It's a lot to remember.
Okay. All right. So the best thing to do is to go to Lake Area Tech and just walk in. February 3rd is when it starts, going through the 14th. The first day will be Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. And you can ask for Lorna or Kerry, and they'll take care of you. Anything else? Did we get it?
I would say more information is also, that same information is available at the Lake Area Tech website. So lakeareatech.edu, and it will have that information. Again, if you have specific questions, you can call the main Lake Area Tech number and ask for Lorna, and I will get back to you and we can answer your questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming in and what you do for the community, because that's some work I think a lot of people might not want to do. So it's amazing.
It's
and
all fun.
yeah, well, I'm glad you feel that way, and then you give other people that passion to do it. So you keep the world literally going around. So thanks for what you do and coming in and sharing this with us. And I'm guessing we learned a couple of things. So appreciate that.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Come back